So we'll start in our comfortable seated position. We'll just place our hands on our knees, pull the shoulders back, and just lift from the top of the head. Make ourselves tall. Close our eyes. Take a few deep cleansing breaths. Inhale through our nose. Exhale out from our mouths. Inhale, lift our hands up high. Reach with the fingers, pull the shoulders back away from the ears. And then exhale, we'll turn to the right and get into a little bit of a twist here. At the first few breaths, we'll keep our chin in line with our chest. We'll lengthen on the inhales. We'll just gently encourage those shoulders around on the exhales. After a few breaths, maybe we turn our chin over toward that right shoulder. Bring the twist a little bit higher up into our spine. And then we'll slowly come back to the center. One breath here. Inhale and exhale. On our next inhale, let's lift those hands up. And then exhale around to the left. After a few breaths, if we would like, we can move that chin back toward the left shoulder. And then coming on back around to the center. Inhale, lengthen in our spine. Exhale, hands will come forward and we'll just walk the fingers out in front of us as we lower our chest down into a forward fold. On our next inhale, walk the hands back in towards us, lifting the chest. And we'll bring the hands behind our butts, pull the shoulders back. Let's lift the heart. come back on up as we inhale, and then exhale. Let's fold forward again. Stay here for one full breath. And then as we inhale, walking ourselves back up. And then exhale, hands come back behind us. One full breath here. And then inhale will come up. And then one more time, exhale, folding forward. Inhaling, rolling our way back up to seated. Hands come back behind us one last time. Pulling the shoulders back, lifting the heart, opening up in that low back in our chest. Lift our nose a little bit higher. And then slowly we'll inhale up. Hands will come down in front of us and we'll roll over our shins. We'll come to our hands and our knees, opening up the fingers wide, placing them underneath of our shoulders. Knees are underneath of our hips. We'll soften those feet behind us and we'll bring our hips over the heels. Good. Let's inhale, coming on up to tabletop. And then exhale, just move those hips back to our heels. Good. Inhale, coming up. So thinking about keeping a nice flat spine the whole time, only hinging at the hips and at our shoulders. We rock back and forward. Gently waking up those hips. Nice lengthen our spine. Good. One more coming on up. And exhaling back to our heels. Walking the hands one step forward. As we inhale, we'll bring those shoulders forward and the right foot can come up as well into a little bit of a lunge here. Take some time to wiggle into this. Feel the hips begin to open. Good, and now exhale. Let's walk those hands back. Our hips come over this left knee and our right toes point up to the sky for a half split. Good, now let's inhale, bringing ourselves forward into that lunge again. Exhale, sinking the hips. On our next inhale, let's lift up that right hand for a little twist. And then exhale, both hands will come back down to the mat. Inhale here. Exhale. Sink those hips. Good. And then inhale. Let's lift our hands up high. Both hands up to the sky now. And then exhale. Open up those arms and the chest for like angel arms or cactus arms. Good. And then inhale, hands come back up to the sky and down to the mat. Let's come back to our child's pose. Arms are out in front of us. Hips are low. Good. Let's inhale up to a little plank. We'll exhale, lower our chests down. And we'll inhale, scooping our chests forward and then up into a baby cobra. And then pressing ourselves back to child's pose. Good. Let's inhale up. We'll bring that left foot forward this time. Take a few moments to wiggle into it. See how we're feeling on this side. One more breath. And then on our next exhale, let's walk those hands back. Hips come over the right knee. We find our half split here. Good. Let's inhale, coming on forward into our lizard. One breath. And then on our next inhale, we'll lift up that left hand. Open those shoulders up, looking toward the fingers, but also still pressing into that right hand. Good. And lower back down. Take a breath. And then find that balance. Inhale. Hands come up high, crescent lunge. And then exhale. For half angel, opening up those shoulders. Good. Inhale. Hands come back up to the sky. And then we'll lower back down. We'll step back, child's pose. Good. Let's inhale up to a little plank. We'll lower back down. Inhale, to a little cobra. And then we'll press back, child's pose. Okay, we're going to go through that flow again, maybe a little quicker. And when I say quicker, I mean instead of 5 breaths, we'll do like 2. So it won't be a huge fast flow, but as we come up, we'll bring that right foot forward, hang out here for a couple of breaths. And then exhale, let's walk those hands and hips back, couple of breaths. And then inhale forward. And then let's lift up that right hand. And then we'll lower it back down. Inhale, both hands come up. And then exhale, opening up those elbows wide. And then inhaling up and exhaling back down. Stepping back to child's pose. And now inhale, let's come up to our little plank. Exhale, we'll lower down, elbows to our ribs. Inhale, little cobra. Pull that chest forward. And then press back into our child's pose. Good, let's inhale, coming on up, bringing the left foot forward. Couple of breaths here. And then exhale, let's walk those hands and hips back for our little split, bringing the chest toward the toes, hinging at those hips. And then inhale, we come forward. Next inhale, let's bring that left hand up high. And lowering it back down. Find the balance. Inhale to our crescent lunge. And then opening up those elbows, lifting the heart. And then back to our crescent lunge. And down to the mat. Let's step back, child's pose. And then inhale, half series here to our plank. And then we lower down. Inhale, little cobra. And then we'll press back to child's pose. We'll stay here for 2 or 3 breaths. Good. And now we'll go just a tiny bit quicker. So inhale, we'll come up, bring that right foot forward. And then exhale to our half split. Inhale, coming forward. Good. Next inhale, lifting that right hand. And exhaling back down. Find the balance. Inhale, crescent lunge. And then exhale, open up for half angel. And then inhale back to our crescent. And then exhale, hands come back down to the mat. Beautiful job. Now let's keep that right hand to the floor. And we'll open up to the left a little bit. A little different twist. And back down. Good. Now let's take this right foot and heel toe, heel toe. We're just going to walk it across the mat. We're going to set ourselves up for just a short pigeon. So we won't be here for a ton of time, but we'll take it. Good. Now let's tuck that left toe back behind us, and we'll press back into a very short downward facing dog. We just need to give ourselves some space to go in, to take that pigeon away. Good. And then lowering the knees, softening the feet back to our child's pose. Good. Half series. Inhale, little plank. Exhale, we'll lower down. Inhale, scooping up into our cobra. And then we'll press back to our child's pose. Move over to the other side. Inhale, bring that left foot forward. On our next exhale, half split. Good. Inhale, coming on forward. Next inhale, let's lift up that left hand. And back down. Both hands come up this time for crescent lunge. And then exhale, opening up. Inhaling high. And then exhaling back down. Keeping that left hand on the floor, lifting up the right. And coming on back down. And slowly, let's just walk that foot across to the right side. And we'll set ourselves up for pigeon. Good, let's tuck that right toe, press into the hands, come back for a downward facing dog, little wiggly dog. Good, and then we'll lower those knees down, find our child's pose. Inhale up into our little plank. We'll exhale down. Press into those hands just a little bit, but use those back muscles as we come up for little cobra here. And then press back. into our child's pose. Right here, use those hands. Gently press the hips back toward the heels. Soften in the shoulders. And even open the knees nice and wide here. Good. Keeping our hips over the heels. Let's walk the hands across to the right. We'll open up our side body a little bit. And then coming on around to the left. Chests are low, hips are low, reaching across with that right hand. Good, and then let's come back to the center. One breath here. Good, and now let's inhale up to our tabletop. Fingers are wide underneath of our shoulders. We'll bring those knees underneath of our hips here. And now let's exhale, round into a cat. And inhale to cow. And then on our next exhale, let's come back to that neutral spine. We don't want to round and we don't want to droop. We want to find that nice flat spine, pressing into our hands. Good. And now let's lift up our right hand up to the sky. And then exhale, we'll reach it through, thread the needle here, lowering the shoulder and our head down to the mat. And then bringing our focus to our hips. We don't want to shift over to help compensate for the twist in our spine. We want to bring those back over the knees. And then our left hand can be out in front of us. And we can just walk those fingers around to the right, opening up the shoulders. Good, and then we'll slowly unwind, press into the hands, find our tabletop. Good. And now from here, walking the hands out just a little bit. We'll tuck those toes, press into those toes, and we'll just slowly bring the right knee forward, and we'll come back to pigeon. Once we're there, we can soften that left foot, pull the left hip forward. Good. From here, we'll keep our right hand on our mats. We'll bend that left knee, reach back with our left hand, and find the toes or the ankle as we pull that heel in towards our bum. And we'll gently release that foot. And we'll sit down onto this right hip so we can just extend the legs back behind us. Hands are underneath of our shoulders here. And then we'll inhale up into an upward facing dog. Lower the knees. Press back to child's pose. And now let's walk the hands around to the left. And then slowly we'll walk the hands around to the right. And then back to the center. And we'll come up to our tabletop. Exhale to a cat, rounding in the spine. Inhale, cow. And then back to our neutral spine. And when we're ready, we'll lift up that left hand. And then we'll thread the needle, reaching underneath, lowering the shoulder and our head, keeping the hips over the heels. Good, and now let's slowly unwind. Coming back to our tabletop. Good, walk the hands out just a little bit. We'll tuck those toes, and even press into our mat, flex those feet a little bit, and then we'll lift up that left knee and bring it forward into our pigeon. Bring that right hip forward and soften that leg. As we breathe, feel those hips releasing. We feel a little stretch in our glutes. Lengthening in the spine. Good, and now we'll keep that left hand on the floor. We'll bend our back knee, reach back, find the toes or the ankles. Bring that foot in towards our butt. And now let's release that foot. We'll sit down onto this left hip so we can slide the leg back behind us. Hands are underneath of our shoulders here. As we inhale, we'll scoop the chest and hips forward and then press into upward facing dog. And now let's lower those knees and come back to a child's pose. Round in the spine. We can even tuck the chin. Good. And then again, let's do that little series at least one more time, but just a tiny bit quicker. So hips stay over the heels. We'll walk the hands around to the right. And then around to the left. Even though we're spending less time in the pose, that doesn't mean that we have to move faster or with less control. Good, and then back to the center. And up to our tabletop, neutral spine, and then exhale, round into our cat. Inhale, cow. To that neutral spine. And then we'll lift up the right hand. When we're ready, threading through. Good, and then back to our tabletop, walking the hands forward, tucking the toes. We'll lift those knees and we'll scoot that right one forward into pigeon. Beautiful. Let's bend that left knee, reach back, find the toes. And then we'll release. Sit down onto that right hip. Slide both legs back behind us. Hands are underneath of our shoulders. Inhale, upward facing dog. Lowering the knees back to our child's pose. All right, let's walk those hands over to the left. And then slowly we'll go all the way around to the right. And then back to the center. Open the fingers wide. Inhale. Let's bring those shoulders forward. And then exhale. Round into our cat. And then inhale. Arching into cow. And back to that neutral spine. Let's lift up the left hand. And then we'll thread the needle through on this side, lowering the head and the shoulder. Good. And then back to the center. And then we'll walk the hands forward, tuck the toes. And then we'll bring our left foot forward. I did the wrong foot. Left foot forward into our pigeon. Good. And now let's reach back, find those toes, and pull that heel back in towards our bum. Good. Releasing the foot, sitting down onto that left hip, sliding our leg back. Give ourselves a tiny wiggle here. Hands find themselves under the shoulders. Upward facing dog. And now let's lower those knees and come back to our child's pose. Good. Let's swish the feet over to one side. We'll lower our butts down onto our mats. Swing the legs out in front of us. And we'll keep those knees bent. Pull the knees in to our chest. Even drop our head and just hang out here in a little ball. This is the ball of introspection. And then when we're ready, we'll rock back onto our backs. And we'll lift our feet up to the sky, holding behind our calves or behind our hamstrings. We'll rest our shoulders and our heads and our tailbones onto our mats. And then we slightly bend the knees. Encourage the legs to come towards us just a little bit. And then begin to lengthen in the legs. They don't have to go all the way, but we're just getting a little bit longer. Bending again, encouraging a little bit more, and then lengthening. Again, bending, encouraging, lengthening. This can all happen in the scale of millimeters because millimeters is also progress. It doesn't have to be a dramatic change. to make a dramatic difference in our body. And then we'll release those legs, can bend the knees. Good. From here, we're just going to take this right leg, cross it over the left knee. And if we can, see if we can wrap our toes around our calf. Not all of us can, and that's totally fine. But we're going to try and make it as close as we can. Arms are going to go out to the sides, and then we're going to exhale and lower the legs over to the left. So we're binding up our legs eagle style as we twist into a little supine action here. With our breath, we feel the shoulders melting in towards the earth. Good, and now let's come back to the center. We'll untangle those legs. And then we'll move over to the other side. So we'll cross that left leg over the right. See if we can wrap the toes around. If we can't, maybe we can get close to the calf. That works too. And we'll inhale here. And then as we exhale, lowering the knees over to the right. Little eagle twist on this side. And now let's unwind and untangle. Bring our knees into our chest. One more deep inhale here. And then exhale. Let's release everything. Let me find ourselves in a comfortable position for Shavasana. Eyes are closed. Our body is soft. And we allow ourselves this time to just be still and to be quiet. And when we are ready, deepen our breath and bring subtle movement into our body, coming back into our space. Oh, so slowly. And then we'll bring the knees in towards our chest. We'll rock over onto our side. And we'll help ourselves up to a comfortable seated position. Rising up from our Shavasana, completely brand new. Bring our hands together at our hearts. Give ourselves thanks. Thanks for all of the gifts that we gave us today during our practice. Physical gifts, mental and emotional time. It has been my pleasure and honor to help you through your practice today. I hope that we feel even just the tiniest bit better than when we started, because again, tiny bits is also progress. I wish you a very, very happy day, great rest of your week, and I hope to see you again soon. The light in the divine in me recognizes and respects the light in the divine in each of you, and when we are together, whether physically or virtually, we are one. Namaste.